on the dot. Thank you very much for joining us today with the Standing Committee on Premier and Constitutional Matters. Great big welcome to the Children's Commissioner. Very nice to have you here, as well as your office. And you were saying that you really are very enthused to be here, and I think it's a really good opportunity for us to engage and to get an update on what you're doing, particularly as the only Children's Commissioner in the country. So I think we really have something to be very pleased about with ourselves here. What I'm going to ask is for everyone to please introduce themselves. We have a number of people online. Unfortunately, I think a Friday afternoon is not a very popular time for a meeting. So thank you to everybody who is here physically. We have had 2 apologies from my side, Procedure Officer. One is from Member van Wyk, but Member Johnson is standing in for him as an alternate. And also I've had an apology from Member Walters. So yes, I think I'm going to ask, maybe let's start online with the introductions and then we can move over to people who are here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Member Peter Johnson as an alternate member of this committee.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Wendy Kaiser-Philander, committee member.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. Member Khalid Sayed, a member of the committee. I will be coming into the chamber shortly. I've just had to return home for an emergency, but I will be joining you shortly in the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else have we got who's online?
Good afternoon, Chairperson and everybody in the meeting. My name is Pat Lecker. I'm an alternate in the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Member. Okay. I think Member Heron, if you want to start at the back.
Afternoon, Brett Heron, member of the committee.
Good afternoon, Donita Stevens, member of this committee.
Good afternoon, Christina Nomdu, Western Cape Commissioner for Children.
Afternoon, Cameron Seister, Deputy Director for Investigations and Advice.
Afternoon, my name is Tolani Ndlovu, Assistant Director from the Western Cape Commissioner for Children. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chair members. Tessa Goldschmidt, Assistant Director in the Investigations and Advice branch.
Good afternoon, Tutu Zelinsegu here, Communications Officer.
Good afternoon, my name is Malcolm Hess. I'm Assistant Director, Monitoring and Awareness branch.
Good afternoon, I'm Emma Walker and I'm an intern at the Commissioner's Office.
Thank you very much. And just to introduce myself, I'm Benedicta van Minnen. I am the chair of this committee. Just as we kick off and start, what we have is a presentation from the Children's Commissioner and a report back. I think, if possible, can we finish the presentations before we then move over to questions? And also, I just want to remind members to save any resolutions that you might have up until the end as well. So I think let's first hand over to the Children's Commissioner and please, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's a great privilege to be here in the 7th administration. We are excited to report to you. I just want to check if any of my child advisors are online and wish to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabella David. I'm 17 years old and I'm an advisor and child governance monitor in the office.
Then I would ask Procedural Officer, maybe if you could put our PowerPoint presentation on. That is the report. I think I submitted that for reading, but I'll take you through the PowerPoint presentation. So I don't know if many of you, as the committee chair reminds us, knows that this is the first ever Commissioner for Children in the history of this country. So it is a great privilege for us to represent that institution and to have built that institution over 4 years. We are coming to the end of the first term of office. The first term of office ends in May 2025, and then I step aside as commissioner. And so one of your most important immediate tasks is to choose a new children's commissioner. And I want to make that a very urgent plea because, you know, we need stability and we need institutional consistency, and so we need leadership to continue in the office. So I don't know if you are familiar with the mandate of the office. Some may be new. We have very exciting posters in front of you, rolled up in English, Afrikaans, and isiXhosa, that sets out our mandate. And we've developed posters, and there you can see it now, that is for adults with the little white blocks, just to say in brief what our mandate is. And then we have the mandate for children. It's in a children's story. So I took the law and I rewrote it into a children's story so children could understand it. And if you place that microphone, children will tell you the story. Okay. I think the procedural officer has indicated it's still loading, perhaps, or shall we go ahead?
It is filling up, so we are getting there. So maybe just talk around the rest of that slide while that loads.
Okay, so you will know that the mandate of the Children's Commissioner is to monitor government especially, but also all role players that work in the lives of children, so service providers to children. But our mandate departments are the departments of cultural affairs and sport, education, health and wellness, and social development. And I say I love that cluster of departments because it's the social sector departments. It's where the, you know, the rubber hits the road, where we need to do most of our work in terms of prevention, prevention of violence and other social ills. We also have an investigative mandate, so we can decide to do investigations into these departments. So, you know, people perhaps don't understand that as an oversight mechanism, I don't investigate individual cases of children who are in trouble. I investigate systemic issues that stops government from doing their best for children. So one example of an own motion inquiry or an investigation that we did was to understand the alternative care system in the province. And so we did an entire study to find out why are children being pushed out of their homes? Why do they go into alternative care? What types of alternative care is there, and what are the gaps and challenges in that alternative care system? You can see it's quite a thick report, but we also provide a simple, easy to read policy document, and for the children, we even have a poster, a big poster that just defines what is alternative care. So you will always find us trying to simplify all our messages, all our work, so that it is child-friendly, because we really want governance to be child-friendly. And what's more, we want governance to be child-centered. So we want government to move towards making children the center of their agenda. And it's only that way that we're going to achieve child rights. So we also have like an awareness and an educative function. You will see by the reports that we've done in communities, that we've gone out to municipalities across the province, starting with the most rural communities and going from community to community to understand what children want to say to us. as adults, as government, and what they want to say to the mandate departments that I oversee. So they also talk to me about their dreams and worries. And some of this is very, very sad reading. You must strengthen your heart for this. There's a lot of sad things in here, but we always think children are selfish. They don't care about their environment, their society. But most of their dreams talk about being able to take care of their families, being able to maybe build a shelter for abuse or for unhoused peoples. So they are very, very worried about their circumstances and how they can contribute towards these circumstances. And they also talk to us about the safe and dangerous places in the community. So we have like activities that we do in a workshop. We go to all the communities in the municipality. We put all that work into one report. We take that report to the government departments. We ask them for a response. We take that response back to the children to validate and to tell them what the government has said and to receive a renewed mandate for the commissioner. Next week, we go out to Prince Albert, Beaufort West, Maritzburg. We leave on Sunday, a team of us leave on Sunday to do that feedback workshops. We also do a lot of lobbying and advocacy work. And lobbying for us is being able to talk to the key decision makers that will change the system. You are, as Parliament, one of those key decision makers that we always want to be in conversation with so that we can tell you what the reality is out there for children and how you may be able to support them with your oversight role over departments. We also have my favorite one is engagement of children. And, you know, I always say this, when I joined the office on the 1st of June, 2020, 3 children joined with me. 3 girls from Elsie's River High who were writing to the president about not restarting school in COVID. So I look for these child leaders, these child activists who also want to join the institution in fighting for children's rights. They are our change makers. Many of them have now even become 18, 19 in the office, and they act as mentors to the newer members of the office. So Isabella is one of those, and I'm sure others will join as they come out of school. And so they are my advisors. I also say they are my bosses. I'm the Commissioner for Children. So it's they who guide me strategically, but we have a very respectful relationship where there is absolute respect for the knowledge, the wisdom, the advice that we bring as adults and as professionals. So I'll go, let's see if we can, no? Okay, the second one then. So that's a little bit of the mandate. Then Cameron, who is next to me, the Deputy Director of Investigations and Advice, did a lot of hard work from the first annual report to include a chapter that summarizes for us the situation of children in our province. And he will tell you, the reports will tell you, it's getting worse. Poverty is deepening. Hunger is deepening. Well-being is not as good as it should be. The statistics are going in the wrong direction. And we give you some of the summary slides there. Children, when I go and visit them in the communities, they ask me, will I see you again? Then I say, I have 2.1 children to visit. That's the amount of children we have in our province. And we know that more than half of the children, unlike many other provinces, live with their parents. So a message that we always give to government is, if we can get that family structure to be solid, to be strong, to be functional, the lives of children will improve. You see there that almost half of the households are below the poverty line, that more than half of children depend on the child support grant. Oh, my eyesight. 22% of children attend ECD centers. 1 million attended school in 2021. Oh, now I can't see. Okay, thank you. 62% were retained between grades 10 and 12. But we often give the very big message around matric rates is really not what we're supposed to be concerned about. We need to be concerned about children in the first 1,000 days of their life from conception. And if we build them to be good, whole human beings, nourished, loved, stimulated early with education, reading, we build that brain in that first 2,000 days. And then we hope that they will have a positive trajectory. Evidence shows us that if children are stunted, I think the Department of Health gave us the indicator of 2.5 kilograms at birth. If a child is under 2.5 kilograms at birth, then they are in danger of being stunted, and stunted has outcomes for the rest of your life. Your development will not be on par. You will not be able to keep abreast of learning. You know, I'm going to just add a part of a sad story. We visited the 10 centers of secure care and specialized care that the Department of Social Development has in the last 2 months. We saw many 16-year-olds that look like 10-year-olds. So it shows you that the outcomes for children that don't begin life well are very dire. So we must concentrate on that early points. We see that the mortality rates of children 1 to 5 have decreased. The number of infant deaths have decreased. That is our latest statistics of our previous annual report. If we go on to the next slide. Cameron also works very hard to work with people that work in, for example, the Child Death Review and the South African Police Services to give us special data on children as victims of crime. And so we can see, for example, from the statistics that we have the main causes of death in the young ages are from natural causes, illness, like I say, if you don't develop properly. But we can see, for example, in the teenage years that especially boys become victims of homicide because of because of gangs operating in society. So there's are two features of what children go through in our province. If we go to the next slide. We started this office and they approved a staffing complement of 12 permanent staff members. I've never had more than 2 or 3 staff members full-time. Never had more than 2 or 3 full-time effective staff members in this office from inception. At the moment, Cameron, Tessa, and Tutuzeli are permanent staff members. Kalani and Malcolm are contract staff members. I will lose Cameron to a promotion post at the end of this month, and I will be back to 2 staff members on level 8 and 9. It is almost impossible to carry on with the work we are doing with the capacity that we have been given. We have many challenges inside the bureaucratic system to increase our staff complement. When I came in, I painted bright pictures to the DG and the 6th administration of a fantasy house that I wanted for the Children's Commissioner's Office, a representation of an ideal, of a safe haven. I'm sad to say that even this year, I've been told it may take 2 or 3 years more for me to get a permanent office building. We have had funding of, like core funding, of 5 million rand. 5 million rand in comparison with units within health and education which received 30 million rand. I'm not going to name and shame those units. It's not their fault. But I'm just saying in comparison, are we really committed to building this institution? Are we really? We are so proud to say we're the first, but are we really doing justice to the institution? Your role as parliamentarians is clearly stated in the law that guides my work in the office, Western Cape for Children's Commissioners Act 2 of 2019. Section 2 says you can appoint the commissioner, you can remove the commissioner should report to you, and that the funding should be sought to sustain the commissioner's office, and you can even look into regulations for this office. Next slide, please. So there's a very clear role. That is the organogram, and there's supposed to be a director level 13 to hold this office. We have not been able to appoint the commissioner and a director level 13. Then there would be no workers. So our choice was to create workers in the office, myself included. I'm a real worker bee. I work from ground up. I'm a community worker by training, a youth worker by training. So I work alongside my colleagues here on the community work that we do, but we should be having 2 fully staffed branches with a deputy director each. I've only had 1 deputy director who's now leaving. 1 or 2 staff members from each branch there. We have absolutely no administrative staff from beginning till now. We've had support from the Premier's office, sometimes with secondment of staff, and that can only last for a short period of time, and then the staff return to their units, and then we are left begging and pleading to make photocopies, to get into the Logos system and so forth. So we're really not, we feel a little bit like we're handicapped as an institution. And I must say, honestly, I feel like we've been neglected. Next slide, please. Despite this, we have built a cadre of change agents amongst children. Internationally, they are called child human rights defenders. And our child human rights defenders have excelled in their work to understand children's rights, to inform the commissioner about the lived reality of children on a weekly basis. I have a WhatsApp group with children every Wednesday from 5 to 7, these child government monitors, we call them. On Monday, I have a business meeting with my advisors, 5 to 6, every Monday, and they give me advice. During that 5 to 7 slot, we do training with them. I'll give you an example. You see our finance minister there, Minister MEC Deirdre Baartman. One of our initiatives was to help children understand, read, and analyze government budgets. So these children understand that estimates of expenditure, they understand the division of revenue bill, they understand the appropriations bill, they understand the medium-term budget policy statement. They have made submissions to Parliament on national, provincial, and local level on the IDP and the budgets. She was very happy to certify their work. As a result of this reputation that we have for being able to teach children how to read budgets, we've partnered with the National Treasury, who we called out in a parliamentary meeting to say, why aren't you making the budget accessible for children? And then they worked with our children and developed the Cool Kids Guide to the Budget. First ever in this country, guided by the children that we work with in our office. There you see a lot of them very enthusiastically engaging. Then she was the chair of the Finance Committee on top. At the bottom, she's the MEC of Finance. Next slide, please. A lot of work that I love to do is when I'm in communities. So I'm constantly talking to schools. That is a school in Bonteheuwel, where we talk to the entire school at one time, the primary school. We told them about what the Commissioner's Office is and what we do and how they can become involved. From that meeting, Warda Blankenberger, 12-year-old, said to me, I want to be part of your office. And today she is part of a child government monitors group in my office. So they have gone from strength to strength, not only the children that I work with closely, but every child with whom we've made contact now understands that there is a champion for children in an institution in government. Thank you. Next slide, please. That's very small. But we set lofty goals about what we would achieve. But I've told you almost part of the story right at the beginning. It's about the capacity, the recruitment of the staff, the ability to do work, the kind of engagements we'd like to have with children. And so really we've tried our best. And now as we end the term of office, we are going to be working with independent reviewers, and we are going to evaluate this term of office so that we can say, against the plan that we set for ourselves 4+ years ago, how did we do? So that we can give you and others and the next commissioner an honest account of how far the institution has come. I hope the next slide will show you that, you know, we try our best to communicate with children and with adults everywhere. We are on every platform. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on IG, we are on TikTok, we are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn. You can get me by email, and that WhatsApp number is known by everybody. I think we're going to have to do a lot of promo to say that number is no longer the Commissioner of Children's number, because that's what I've done. I've given children my number, so they can contact me directly when they want to tell me something. And so we look at you know, creating access to the Commissioner, not to the Commissioner's office, to the Commissioner, to all children whom we have engaged. There's a short reel that we want to show you, just the kind of publications that we have had. I think it's the video that Ntutuzeli shared with you. And it will show you that in this time, today, the present time, we have produced 18 publications, 4 newsletters, that we put out on our website as soon as it is tabled in Parliament. So we'll just let you see some of those publications. You know, I know there are people online, so they can't see me holding up the books, but now they can see the publications on the screen, and then I will make closing remarks, and then we can engage with each other. I love conversation. I don't like talking alone.
I think electronics is sometimes sent to try us, rather.
So we have adopted 4 methods of engaging with children: the Child Government Monitors Forum, the Community Child Rights Workshops, topical conversations with children, of which the first one was learning in COVID times, and then also the work we do with children, you know, by going to visit them in the places where they live. So this is some illustration of some of the children that we've worked with in all of those engagements, children telling us their dreams at that point, the Bonteheuwel School, children who we then went to share our mandate with. We also visit service sites. So when we're out in communities doing workshops with children, we're also going to do monitoring visits. We also did a special project where we decided to monitor the Department of Health, because the head of health said very boldly in a parliamentary committee meeting that his whole system is geared towards children. So we said, let us see. And then we went to a primary healthcare site, secondary, tertiary, emergency services. And so we wrote him a submission, and the children love to make posters also as a way of making submissions to adults, because that speaks in the language that they understand. So the orange ones were the community child rights workshops, the strategic planning we do with the child government monitors, with our advisors. You'll see that we've already been in 5 municipalities in those reports. A 6th one is the Witzenberg municipality, which we did in May of this year, and so that report is being written up. You will be maybe surprised to hear there's only one other children's commissioner in the whole continent of Africa that we could find, and that's in Mauritius. So Cameron and I went to do a study visit there and learned a lot about how to set up our own investigations. Everything we learn, we try to put down because we know we are the first, so we have to document. So at the moment, we have 3 annual reports out. We are busy with our 4th annual report. That says it's giving child government monitors, it's giving children's commissioner slay. That's what the children are saying in that slide. But we are busy with our 4th annual report. Just a note to Parliament to say that our year starts on the 1st of June. From the inception of the institution. So our annual reports are ready just a little bit later than other annual reports, but we will keep you abreast of the developments of when we can do our 4th annual report. That just gives you the tags. Now I want to just end off just with some closing remarks, maybe some advice for the future. The expectations of the Children's Commissioner is a function of the frustration of a society with the situation of children. Children are dying, children are hurting, children are missing. We must constantly explain the mandate of the Commissioner is limited. When people ask, will you be available for a 2nd term? I want to run and hide. This has been the hardest job of my life. I have had to manage my heartbreak over the situation of children daily. Some of the toughness of the job was par for the course. I expected it. I knew my heart would not hold out, that I would run myself ragged, and that I needed to provide strong vision and leadership. In the office, I bring the vibe. That's my job. So that everybody has the energy to do their jobs. But the straw that broke the camel's back, literally, because I had to go off sick for a while, was the loneliness of the institution building process in a seemingly unsupportive environment. The legislative and executive branches of government could have helped more. Creating a new governance institution should not be an arbitrary process. For the next term of office of the Children's Commissioner, please consider how Parliament will meet regularly with the Commissioner to listen to what they found and just to ask how they can help for the executive to take the office more seriously. We have tabled nominally 18 publications, but we've never tabled it by talking to you about what our findings are. And we would like to do that. We would like to come, every time we table, we want to come in person so that we can keep you abreast of what's going on. A children's commissioner should be an independent institution, but many of our oversight complaints bodies are subsumed into a department of the executive. There is no deep thinking of the different rules needed for the uniqueness of the institution. I will go to Beaufort West, Prince Albert and Maritzburg and have to pay out of my pocket to feed children before they come and consult with me, because government rules don't allow me to provide children with food unless I meet them for more than 5 hours. I said to them, this is not good rules for the Children's Commissioner's Office. We need to look at special rules for the Children's Commissioner's Office. It has been my privilege to serve, and I am now focused on ending my term well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. It's certainly very commendable, the work that's being done here under very challenging circumstances. And I think thank you for a very, very good presentation. I think compared to a lot of the death by PowerPoint that we get, this is a very, very informative and very interesting presentation. I think these are going to be particularly interesting. I just want to ask, before I go over to the committee quickly, you say you have got the report into Witzenberg. Will that be coming out as the next item that you table? I've got a personal interest because I grew up as a small child in Tilbach, as the only English-speaking child in the entire community. And it was very formative and gave me some very strong views on children in rural areas. So I think as a committee, I certainly will be making proposals in that regard. But thank you very, very much. I think at this point, let's see who has got questions. Let's start in the room. We have Member Heron. And then we also have Member Johnson online. I can't see any other hands. Okay, first it's Member Lacker, then it's Member Johnson. So let's, and then Kaiser Verlander. And then Member Said as well. So, right, let us start here in the chamber with Member Heron.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Commissioner for the presentation. I must say, I came here very, very frustrated about what I thought the role of the Child Commissioner would achieve in the Western Cape. And I was going to lay a lot of complaints at your door. But now I've heard the extent to which the Commissioner's office has really not been taken seriously. And it's a great frustration of mine that this government likes to announce big things and big projects, but doesn't really support them properly or implement them properly. And you have just expressed exactly my frustration. So I am still going to lay the complaints because I think that the Child Commissioner's Office must deal with some of the things that I want to raise. But I want to say that I think that the Premier's department must come and account to this committee as to why the office has been handicapped at the knees, when actually, unless we get our society's structure right for children, the entire structure doesn't function. And there's a wonderful organization called Urban 95. I don't know if you've engaged with them, started by the Von Leer Foundation. And what they promote around the world is that the 95 stands for 95 centimeters, which is the height of an average 3-year-old child. And if you design your spaces, your towns, your cities, your services around a 3-year-old child, you will design it for everybody. And it is so frustrating to me to hear how you've not been able to achieve so much that was imagined for this organization, and it's actually making me quite emotional. But the point is that you, as I understood it, the Commissioner's Office is an independent Chapter 9 institution, our own Chapter 9 institution. And when you are asked to investigate and advise government or report systemic problems, as you indicated, they must be dealt with. Like the Public Protector for South Africa, you are the Public Protector for children in this province. And if the departments are not taking this work seriously, then I think the Premier must come in and account for it. I want to just get into some of the specifics. You indicated that you don't investigate individual cases, you investigate systemic problems. And actually, this takes me back to what I was going to raise with you, and that is right in the beginning, shortly after you were appointed, I raised with you an issue around sexual abuse at a high school in Tableview. And I remember it was very hard to reach you because you only had a Gmail address at that time. So I'm now understanding why it was so difficult and that you had to operate from a Gmail account and you didn't get the emails that I was sending you. And so I'm going back to 2020, I think shortly after you were appointed. But my point around the systemic issues is that they must come from individual cases. They can't, I mean, if there's a sexual abuse case in Tableview High School, is what I asked you to investigate, thinking that you were the public protector for children. And here there was, on social media, all these accounts from children who were being abused by their educators. I expected that your role would be then to investigate it as a systemic problem and whether the education department is handling it correctly, because they were saying that nothing was happening. And it's the same now about, if we look at the complaints around racism in schools that has emerged recently, and we've had Brackenfell and all that kind of stuff, or Durbanville, I can't remember the area. But those incidents surely trigger the systemic questions, because, I mean, the systemic questions must play out through incidents that become known to the public. And so I'm concerned that we can't, as a commissioner, and I now understand the restraints you have, we can't say, here's an individual case, but now see if it is systemic, because you don't have the capacity. And you certainly didn't have the capacity to deal with what I gave you, and I'm frustrated about that. You mentioned that you've done alternative care system investigation, which is great. I wonder if you haven't, then if you haven't, maybe it's something that we need to leave for the next commissioner, or you can initiate. The education system for special needs children. I have been approached over and over again that children, unless they're in private schools, are in mainstream schools without a curriculum. So they are special needs. They are basically, the educators that are working in those schools are saying that we are basically caretakers. We just, they start in grade R, we just move them to grade 1, we move them to grade 2, we move them to grade 3. We never assess whether they can do anything, and they leave school at 18 without anything. They don't have a skill, they don't have an education. Some of them haven't even been taught how to read. And so the needs of special needs children, and I see all the pictures you're engaging, and I don't see, and I'm not that you can always visually see special needs children, but I don't see whether you have engaged with special needs children. I think I would like to ask that happens. When you pulled up the stats around poverty and hunger, my first question is, okay, now you are the advocate for children, and there are 50-something% of children live in poverty and hunger. What happens to that information? I mean, does it go to the social development department, and do you have the power, or have you used the power to ask them to report to you, account to you for how they're going to address systemic hunger in our society? I think that's it for my questions. I think with resolutions, we can deal with the frustrations you express around funding and support. Thank you.
I just want to find out, Commissioner, do you want to answer after everyone has asked their questions, or would you prefer to answer individually? Certainly, I think go ahead then.
Thank you. Yes, certainly when you messaged me the first time, I was on a Gmail account and I was alone in the office for 8 months, and it was COVID. So it was under very trying circumstances that we started. And of course, with any institution, you need to build the systems to be able to cope with the work. So otherwise, I'm the only one doing things, and then I don't build an institution. So a lot of my energy was around building the institution. And one of the parts of the institution which we did manage to build well is that investigations and advice system, because Cameron and Tessa have both been with me for at least 3 years. And so we have now an electronic tracking system of every case that has come into me. Even the case that you talk about would have been recorded in that system. And then Tessa and Cameron will draw out a trend analysis. And we saw over the first year or two, the trend was the crisis in the child protection system. and therefore we delve deeper into the child protection system. And we did a systemic a study on the child protection system. We speak to Dr. McDonald, the HOD of DSD, almost daily, and he's very responsive. And he responds then to those individual cases that you want resolution on when you bring them to me. And so do some of the other HODs. But I must say, so far our relationship with DSD, we have found them to be very responsive. And therefore we have, gained traction in being able to look deeper and deeper into their system to help them change the system. I agree with you. The next focus should be on education. The education system is traumatizing for children. Traumatizing. We work with special needs children. We have visited special needs children. There are special needs children who are advisors in my office. So I understand the realities that they bring to me. But I do think that one of the things that I will hand over from the first term to the second term is that the second term commissioner must focus on the Department of Education. That is a big sore point for us. I think about systemic hunger. We've heard, for example, that departments are now making malnutrition a key strategic priority in this province. So sometimes it's also, you get to engage with HODs in one-on-one, definitely, in emails, in stakeholder meetings, as a group. And each time you try to land a message, you try to lobby, you try to advocate. And sometimes you see the result of your work in a program, a strategy that they have adopted, a priority that they've put on government's door. So I'm happy to say that I heard from the HOD of Health that malnutrition was going to be a strategic priority in this province. So I think those are the kinds of answers that I can give. I'm sorry that we couldn't deal adequately from the very beginning, but I think there needs to be a little bit of understanding of having to build a system, having to build an institution, having to have the capacity to do the work that we're expected to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next member is Member Lecker, who is online. If you can hear us.
Yes, Chairperson. I'm actually wanting to ask a question in relation to children who are born below the required weight. Because for me, if that is the case, then obviously their developmental stages will be delayed and everything going forward. And as a result, in our schooling system, many classrooms are filled with learners who are not coping. And at the end of the day, you find those children being missing in the system because they did not receive the required support. Now, I want to ask, in that case, has the Office of the Children's Commissioner received particularly statistics from the Department of Health around those children? And what is it that the Department of Health is doing in addressing issues of malnutrition in that regard? Also, coupled with that would be children who are born perhaps with your fetal alcohol syndrome. What are the chances of those children progressing in their school years into high school, including university stages? And the second question that I have, particularly the support that the Department of Health, including the Office of the Premier, has given to the Office of the Children's Commissioner to attend to such issues of malnutrition and underdevelopment of children. Has the support been given to the Office of the Children's Commissioner? And the last one, Chair, would be that, we walk the talk in the township, and every second household there is an unemployed parent or there is no one working, as the Children's Commissioner has already alluded, that some of the households are only surviving on the child support grant. Now, it goes to then say there is a lot that needs to be done by government. And my question would be, in that regard, in terms of the statistics that probably the Children's Commissioner has compiled, what support or were there any recommendations made by the Office of the Children's Commissioner in ensuring that the life of a child is taken care of? Because I want to believe, my grandmother used to say that if a child goes to bed without food, that child won't be able to sleep. And equally, what happens tomorrow? What happens a day after tomorrow and next week and next year for such household? What is government's intervention into such household? Thank you, Chairperson.
Commissioner, thanks.
Yes, in our most recent annual report, we report on a study done in the Western Cape by the Department of Health and Wellness. It's their baseline stunting report, which sought to determine the nutritional profile of children under 5 in the province. The study found in 2022 that 17.5% of children under 5 are stunted, which is categorized as a medium public health concern. However, there is a high public health concern for children under 2 years old, which found that 19% of these children are stunted. But on the other hand, the study also found that 15% of children under 5 are obese. So we have children either stunted or obese, completely malnourished, not balanced. And this is very bad for the outcomes for health and wellness. They know these statistics, they've developed them, the departments. And as I've said in my previous comment, I now see that there is a strategic priority around malnutrition. So I'm happy about that. We make recommendations in each of the books that we publish. Every book has a recommendation section. And as I constantly remind the heads of department, if they forget, that they are legally obliged to answer me in relation to what they are going to do about my recommendations. And they have been very good at doing that. Every report from a community, they have provided comprehensive answers about what they will do about the recommendations that we have laid on their table. Sometimes we go back to departments and say, it's not good enough. You know, we need a stronger story from you. You're not doing well enough. And they are responsive. They come back and they give us more, you know. So it does seem as if in governance, in that social sector, the players, the most important players, the HODs, the MECs, the DG, the Premier, they are taking us seriously. They are taking this institution seriously. We have begun to see the impact of that in the conversations that we have with each other, the hard conversations where I point out their shortcomings and they come back and they explain what they're doing about it. So I think that we must say we are very grateful to the Director General. Just as every child in the province maybe has my WhatsApp number, I'm on WhatsApp with the DG all the time. I pop into his WhatsApp and I say, I need this, I need that, I need this. But you all know what the systems in government is like. It takes almost a year to appoint a person. I will lose Cameron now, and I can guarantee you that it will take me a year to replace a deputy director of quality, who is skilled, who has the passion to work with children. And so you are retarded by the processes in government. You know, we got given an extra 2 million rand for 2 additional posts. We lost it after a year. I didn't understand why. I don't understand how we can be given money 1 year for COE, which is supposed to be secure, and then the next year it no longer appears in your medium-term expenditure framework numbers. So those are the issues that I take up with the DG, with the DG of National Treasury, with the head of Department of Provincial Treasury. I want to know why. Where did that money go? Why can't I get the capacity that I need? And the DG is always willing to give me an admin assistant or so on. But the systems and structures of government, the bureaucracy, this is what doesn't help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Johnson, I know you're also online.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thanks, Chair. I would just like to start off by thanking the Commissioner for the presentation and for the work that they've been doing. Mine is not necessarily related to the presentation. It's more, I guess, a personal opinion. I am the newly allocated constituency MP for Prince Albert, and I actually did get the invitation through the Speaker's office about the outreach in the Central Karoo district. I just wanted to know from the Commissioner if she, just a personal opinion, I'm not sure exactly what the outreach entails, but if she can just guide me in terms of if it would be beneficial for me to attend this, as I am still getting to know the community, and if that could be of any help, I am more than willing to ensure that I am in Prince Albert on Monday. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner?
You're most welcome, Member Johnson. You will find on our website the report for Prince Albert, which shows you the safe and dangerous places according to the children, dreams and worries, recommendations to government. And we will come with new information to that meeting on Monday. The responses from the government department in relation to what the children has asked. So we would welcome you in our midst on Monday. We look forward to seeing you in Prince Albert. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then our next person also online is Member Kaiser Philander. She works very closely with Witzenberg. If you can hear us.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, yes, I just wanted to echo your sentiment. I'm just as excited to see what comes out of the report, Witzenberg. In addition to that, allow me to thank Ms. Nomdu for the presentation today, but also Ms. Nomdu, you and your entire team. From where I sit, I would have loved to be in chambers today. But Chairperson, I have tendered my apology to the Chief Whip since my daughter is undergoing a procedure today. So I can unfortunately not be there. Ms. Nomda, you will remember I was initially part of the panel that appointed the very first Children's Commissioner, which is yourself. And one can indeed see, and after this amount of time, the amount of passion that you and your team are driving this office with. And I really hope and believe that going forward, that you will be capacitated to do so much more, because I think this is a very vital office within the province, and this is something that we really need. You made mention about the safety and the danger to children, and you highlighted a few factors that you took into consideration. What is absent for me, and perhaps you would be able to motivate why at this point, or whether it's not an alarming amount or an alarming issue at this point, is that of kidnapping and child trafficking. Now, I don't want to name names because I think the one case are as important as the other case as well. So how did your office during your term get to deal with such issues? What was your collaboration with departments in the province, but also was there an opportunity for you during this time in office to engage with national departments, for example, where the mandate doesn't necessarily lie with the province, to engage in order to curb those instances or to be of assistance, or as you said, you've also got an investigative mandate in that regard. That will be my question for now. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner, please.
Thank you, Member Falanda. I remember you were part of the team who grilled me at the beginning. I hope I have done some justice to your faith in me. Yes, I think it's a very sad matter. Like I said in my closing statements, children are missing. And this often makes sensational news. We must be careful not to be drawn in by the sensation. We must go according to evidence-based figures about how many children are we talking about. We will look into it as the office about how many children we are talking. But I encourage you not to be drawn in by the sensationalism that media often creates around single events. When a child goes missing in the province and somebody makes an inquiry with me, I go behind the scenes and am given information by the South African Police Service about the status of the investigations. That's our links with each other. I have no mandate in the South African Police Services, but by building close relationships of cooperation, people can either say, Commissioner, the situation is drawing to a close. You know, we found the children. Sometimes I know before others know. So people think because they don't hear me on a soapbox in the media that I'm not involved in these issues. Most of the time, I'm involved behind the scenes because I am also as concerned about the well-being on each and every child in this province as you are. So be assured that we do the utmost within our powers and within the relationships we have built with strategic players in the lives and the safety of children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Said?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And let me also thank the Children's Commissioner, not only for her input, but for the excellent work she's been attempting to do under very, very difficult circumstances. It was also a pleasure to have visited. I think my first assignment that I did as the leader of the opposition, even before we were assigned committees, was accepting an invitation to visit her offices. So one could see firsthand the kind of work that's being done, but also the kind of constraints that she's talking about. And I think I want to agree with Member Heron that I also came to the committee meeting today wanting to raise a number of issues of things that are not being looked at. I was particularly looking also at for example, children on farms, looking at issues in the schools. But I understand now that the constraints under which this office is operating, it's completely unacceptable. We pushed for the establishment of for the establishment of the Children's Commissioner. It's a Chapter 9 institution. Now I understand, and for me, I think what's problematic is the fact that the Children's Commissioner is in a sense constrained by the very arm of government that it must hold accountable, which is the executive. And there could be a number of reasons. I mean, the executive will tell us that it's because of funding that the executive doesn't get. But we're going to have to interrogate as to why. What I wanted to get a sense from the Children's Commissioner, and I know Member Heron raised issues and Member Falanda as well as Member Lecker on the kind of issues. What I wanted to get a sense, number one, is the Children's Commissioner made it quite clear that, yes, when there are issues which relate to the work of certain departments, DSD in particular, I understand education, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done on the part of WCED, but DSD in particular as a case study. She gets responses, they indicate what they will do, what should be done. What is the follow-through on the part of the Office of the Commissioner, firstly? Do you get not only an agreement that there are problems and that what needs to be done, but can you maybe state instances where in which you've raised issues with DSD, for example, and you've said, look, this needs to happen. What do you envisage? What are you going to do? Then they say, look, this is what we will do. Are there actual cases? Maybe you can give us some examples as to what a department has done to actually correct an issue that you've actually picked up. Does the Commissioner's Office also have set deadlines and timeframes for departments to actually implement what you want them to implement? That's number one. Number two, I know you said that yours is not the soapbox. You're not going to go out there and say, this is what I've taken up. But I tend to think that that's important. We're in the context of perception. And the public, because these are public institutions, the public wants to know. And the public, I will say, when the public doesn't see the Children's Commissioner doing something about an issue, even though the Children's Commissioner may well be doing something about it, the public then turns on us. Because they will say, it was you in the 6th administration that argued that you must have a Children's Commissioner, that the office must be capacitated. So the public must also then know what are the constraints. They want to hear from the horse's mouth. What are the constraints? What is being done? So I just wanted to get a sense, is it because of the lack of resource capacity that we don't necessarily see the Children's Commissioner going out there in the media domain saying, no, this issue has come to me. This is how we're taking it up. We have gone and told this department that this is what they must do. We'll be awaiting a response. So that I think the public wants to see a particular kind of robustness, not a show and tell necessarily, but a kind of robustness to show that a Chapter 9 institution does indeed have teeth. And if it doesn't have that, it's because of the issues around some of the resource constraints. And then we can also see how can we assist in that regard. But I think we will be most certain in terms of the resolutions. When we do engage as a committee, I want to commit as well that we will be talking about some of the capacity constraints. Thank you.
Please, Commissioner,
go. So just a little bit on children on farms. Most of the community reports are from rural areas. So we've definitely been out there, mostly first in rural areas, to children on farms. When we talk with the Department of Social Development about a case, and we escalate the case to the HOD sends that instruction directly to his districts in order for those districts to go and investigate the case, draft the report, submit the report to the Commissioner's Office, and then we make sure that the client who came to us in the first place is satisfied with what has happened. So we love to work in loops where we close the loop. We don't open a case and then try to leave it hanging. It may take a long time to resolve a case if a case is difficult, but definitely our information system tells us when the case has been logged, who has communicated with the client, when a matter has been escalated, when the department has responded, whether that response was acceptable to the client. So we like to have the status of cases resolved in our system. That's what we work towards in the investigation system. They do respond very well, even when I do reports, when I do systemic investigations. I give deadlines. I say, by X and X time, I want to go back to this community and I want to feedback. And I have the reports by the time. So we are taken very seriously by the departments because I think they really respect the vigor of the work that we've done. They respect the fact that we've brought children's voices to them. It's what they would love to be able to do, and so we help them to meet the needs of their clients. They really appreciate that. Around public perception of the robustness of the Commissioner's Office, you know, we have a presence on every social media platform. When there is a matter that I think that that is current, for example, violence against children, the information officer, the communications officer, and I will draft a statement We will send it out to all media houses. Media houses can then ask for a video clip, a voice clip, come and do an interview in my office about it. But you see, I think the character of media also is sometimes problematic, as I've mentioned before, because they sensationalize matters. And it doesn't bring progress in society. I try to work on those issues systematically so that we can see progress, so that we can see the people that who are supposed to be doing the work. So I have to divide myself in 20 sometimes, and most of the time my physical being is busy with doing the work. And so when I am called to speak to the media, I do engage with them, but I don't have enough time, enough hours in the day to be able to respond to every inquiry made by the media. And I think we have decided on an approach in the media where we will not fuel sensationalism, but we will speak about the issue from an evidence perspective, from a strategic perspective, from a systematic perspective. Member Philander would know that this is my pledge at the beginning, that I will do things systemically, systematically, and strategically. And that is what I've held to for this term of office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think just our final, Member Stevens, do you want to have the final bite there?
Yes, I just want to ask the Commissioner something. Does the Department of Education inform the Children Commission when a child gets expelled from school, especially from the primary schools? And that is actually very sad. And when a child on primary school gets expelled, then that child are roaming the streets and gets pulled in by the gangsters. And that's what happened a lot at the moment, where you see children from the age of 10 years old that's not in school, that's roaming the streets with the gangsters. And the gangsters at the moment are using their children to do their dirty work. I was at a presentation last week. I did a presentation last week with a high school where there were so many young children between the age of 10 to 15 that's not attending any school, but they were at the school's function, and it was horrible the way they looked, and you could see that they are the small little gangsters of which the big bosses are using. And that's actually sad. I just want to know, because I've also got a reason why I'm asking, because there's a school by us in Kraaifontein where a 12-year-old boy was expelled last year. And I saw this boy walking up and down the streets. And then he was also pulled in by the gangsters. And I had an interaction with those gang boss regarding this child. And my daughter contacted the social department there, the welfare lady there. And she said there's nothing that she can do because the mother must come and see them. But there's no mother. The mother left the husband. There's another 2 children in that same house, a little girl of 8 years old and a little boy of 5. He was supposed to go to grade R this year. That little boy is walking the streets up and down. The little girl, if she goes to school twice or thrice a week, it's a lot. So what are we doing in a case like that where the social workers don't want to help you? As a public member, they need the parents, and there's no parents involved there. What do you do in that case?
I could just quickly add a little leg onto that before you answer. I know this is national and doesn't pertain to the Western Cape, but it did put me in mind of a number of times I've come across children who have not been registered with Home Affairs. And I've come across matters where the mother herself had not been registered with Home Affairs. Now, I realize provincially that that's not what you do, but is that something you find as a problem in dealing sometimes with children? I would just like your opinion on that. Thank you.
I said, as a previous statement, the education department is traumatizing our children. There's not enough empathy in the education department, as I see it, for the type of environments our children have to deal with in homes. So they come to school and they act out. And adults, we are the adults in the system. We must calm the situation down. We must respond to that alarm bell that the child is ringing. We must call in the protection services, the social workers, the learning support teams. We must call it for the children. I don't think enough is being done by the education department to really reconcile with their sister departments, health and social development, to work together so that they can make sure that the child is taken care of in every space that the child is. So I think for me, the cooperation amongst departments is not optimal. It's not yet optimal. And that's a thing that I think that must be strengthened amongst the social sector cluster. They must work together. Not only on HOD level, because I know they meet together nicely as HODs, but it must permeate these systems so that it benefits our children. It's not permeating the system enough. So we are finding children who are let down by the systems, the education system. The HOD should be asked, he is the one responsible for determining expulsion. So you as the parliament should ask him. You should ask him, how many children are being expelled? Why? What have you done to make sure that that child receives help before you expel them? Because what you expel them to is going to be more dangerous for society. You are completely correct in your... The child rights orientation says when a parent is unable or unwilling to take care of the child, government must respond. Must. So we need to be, as oversight institutions, much more... I think we need to take a tougher line with the departments. We need to say, you need to do more. You need to do more about the culture within your department. I told the Department of Education's head, we still have corporal punishment. How? After it's been abolished 20 years ago. How? You know? So we are not doing enough in the systems of support to children from government side to make sure our children are well. Because their homes, they tell me everywhere I go, are one of the most dangerous places they need to survive. We need to go to ground, we need to support that family system, that household system to become stronger. And there's a lot of structural issues involved, but there's definitely services that government can render. Yes, you know, there's always an outcry around birth registration and Department of Home Affairs. And in actual fact, it is South African children that don't have birth certificates. South African children. So how can we do more when the mother is giving birth in a rural area, for example? How do we make that system of health? Because that mother goes to the health system to give birth. So why is it that the health system cannot connect with the home affairs system to be able to make sure that birth registration happens? It is simple things like this. Just making sure that one government department talks to another at a very important time in the life of a child. That will make things get better. But we don't have that coherence within government. And so I think as oversight institutions, we really need to encourage them to draw closer together and to show us proper plans, clear goals, clear activities, actions that they are doing that can improve the lives of all our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have two hands from two child monitors, Isabella and Imivuyo. Let's start with Isabella.
Hi, everyone. So within the office, we as child government monitors have discussed what we would like out of the next Children's Commissioner for the Western Cape. And we have Imivuyo and I will be reading over the list that we have compiled. We are speaking over the entire, well, not speaking over, speaking for, sorry, the entire office. We want a children's commissioner who interacts with us, someone who isn't afraid to release their inner child and play a game of bingo or mafia with us, someone who goes out of their way to hear what we have to say and connect with us on a personal level. We want a children's commissioner who cares about us and who's passionate about child rights and children within the Western Cape, someone who's actively working within the office to protect and to help protect and help children understand and know their rights.
Imivuyo?
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Imivuyo. It's nice to meet you all. I'll be saying 3 other quotes. 1 is from me and 2 is from other CGMs and advisors. As I said, we want someone who will be able to work hand in hand with us and we can be comfortable around. Pi, a CGM and advisor, said a commissioner that will go out to the communities and recruit from schools, organizations, and so on. Lelita, a CGM and advisor, said, we want someone who will listen to what we say and not brush off our concerns, try and understand and be able to advise us. We want someone who we can make TikToks with and have fun with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabella and Imivuyo. And I must say, Commissioner and staff, thank you very much for a very, very insightful presentation. I think that there is a lot we need to take away from that. Do you have any closing words, either yourself or anybody else in your office?
I'll give the office a chance to say. They don't bite. We are covered? Okay, thank you. We are covered. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. I'm just thinking it is now, it's 3:20. The committee does have some business it needs to attend to. There is there tea? There is tea and snacks if one goes through to the dining room. I want to say thank you very much, but I certainly think that as a committee, this is something we're going to have to really look at championing our relationship with you, how we can strengthen these bonds and make a system that really is fit for purpose going forward, that really assists in this. It is always a learning curve. And yes, so it's almost a full year now until the end of this particular term. And I think that the information that you've been giving and relaying to us today is very, very important. And I think that we will be seeing a lot more of each other, all of us. And thank you very much. Thank you. Committee, I just want to get a feeling, do you want to break now? It's 3:20, or rather just push through so we finish? Okay, all right. Everybody online, are you fine with that?
Yes, Chair, it's fine.
Thank you very much. I think before we get to the resolutions of actions coming out of this afternoon committee, if we could just move on to point 3, which is consideration and adoption of a draft committee meeting minutes from the 13th of August. Member Heron?
Yes, on the minutes, I see that I'm not listed as present when I was here.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering about that. We'll just amend that. Anything else? I'm not seeing any hands online. Okay, subject to those amendments. Is there anything arising therefrom? Not. In that case, can we please have a proposer to adopt the minutes? Thank you. That is Member Stevens and Member Heron. Then on to point 4, resolutions and actions. I certainly have a resolution I would like to raise, but I'll first ask everybody else, have we got something that anybody wants to raise at this particular point? Member Heron, I don't see any online. Member Heron, please go ahead.
Just on resolutions, I wanted to propose that the Department of the Premier be asked to come and explain the funding and resources that have been allocated to the Child Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I think that we can certainly, coming out from this meeting, do that. I think we do need to have a briefing on exactly how the system works and how the interaction works in that regard. Thank you. And then I would also please like to slightly abuse my position to bring a resolution, two resolutions actually. One that as a committee we very vigorously explore the possibility of a joint social cluster oversight visit in some way with the Office of the Children's Commissioner. I think that it is something that we really do need to get our teeth into. That is my first one. And the second one would be that as a committee, we also explore ways of strengthening this relationship, of ensuring that there is a clear line of tabling in particular of reports, so that going forward we have a good line of communication, if that is acceptable. Member Heron?
I agree with those proposed resolutions, but I think we must pay attention to, maybe in particular when you talk about the social cluster, the Commissioner's remarks that she made repeatedly that our education department or system is traumatizing children. So certainly we need to engage with education around that.
Thank you very much. I think it's essential that we engage with all the role players in this particular regard. Okay, thank you. If there are no further matters, I think we can close. And thank you very much, everybody. And the meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Mm.